Forget everything you learn about romance, love, and relationships from Hollywood movies. All that beautiful wrapping was created for one reason: to hide a simple but brutal truth. A human being is an animal. A very smart, very complex animal, capable of writing poetry and building spaceships, but still an animal, subject to the same biological laws as thousands of years ago. She might tell you about soulmates, about the stars aligning, and about her delicate sensibilities. But while her conscious mind is painting these beautiful pictures, her ancient brain, her reptilian core that is millions of years old, is scanning you in real time and solving just three fundamental questions. First, is he strong? Second, is he reliable? And third, most importantly, is he better than the others? Great minds like Freud and Jung were the first to dare to look not into the living room of the human mind, but into its dark and dusty basement. It is there, in the unconscious, that the real operating files that control behavior are stored. And today, we are not just going to peek into that basement. We are going to hack her operating system and bring to light the 10 core instincts, the 10 pieces of primal code that control a woman, even if she herself would never admit it. This knowledge will change your view of the world forever. It is devoid of illusions and sentiment. But it is precisely this knowledge that will give you what 99% of men lack: clarity. You will stop being offended, angry, and surprised by female logic. You will begin to see the hidden springs of her behavior and be able to predict her actions with surgical precision. But I must warn you, this knowledge is dangerous. It will strip you of your illusions for good. If you are ready to know the truth, no matter how cynical it may be, hit the like button on this video right now, so I know we're in the same pack. And if you're here for the first time and aren't afraid of the deep end, subscribe. This isn't a place for the faint of heart. And before we start dissecting her programming, I'm very interested to know our geography. Please write what city you're from in the comments. Let's see where the most clear-headed men have gathered. Act 1. The instincts of selection and H1, hypergamy. The insatiable desire to find the best. Let's start with the most important thing, the foundation upon which all other instincts are built. The word is hypergamy. It sounds complex, almost like a medical term, but its essence is simple and ruthless. Hypergamy is a woman's unconscious, instinctive strategy aimed at finding a partner with the highest status she can possibly reach. And if an opportunity arises to find a partner of an even higher rank, her instinct will compel her to at least consider that option, that it's crucial to understand the main point. This isn't about greed, moral corruption, or being a gold digger. It's the most ancient survival program hardwired into her DNA. For millennia, only those women who could provide the best conditions for their children survived and passed on their genes. And the best conditions could only be provided by the strongest, most resourceful, and highest status man in the tribe. The one who was the best. This program is still running today, only the scenery has changed. Instead of a cave, it's a penthouse. Instead of a mammoth pelt, it shares in a successful company. And instead of physical strength, it's power and influence. How does this manifest in real life? Very simply. She might have a good, kind, reliable boyfriend. He cares for her, loves her, but he's just normal. Then, a new boss starts at her job, confident, charismatic, ambitious, a man whose word is law for the entire department. And just like that, her ancient scanner instantly turns on. She begins to compare them involuntarily. She notices how the boss speaks, his posture, how others respect him. Her conscious mind might tell her she loves her boyfriend, but her instinct, her nature, is already sending a signal. Attention. A higher-ranking object has been detected. This doesn't mean she will immediately leave him for the boss. But it does mean that her respect for her current partner will begin to decline on an unconscious level. She will start to get irritated with him more often, provoke conflicts, and nag him over little things. Why? Because her nature senses that she has settled for a less than best option. She's like someone who bought a reliable sedan but sees a sports car parked outside her window every day. And that sports car reminds her of what more she could have had. What's a historical analogy here? Think of royal dynasties. A princess was never married off to a kind and honest farmer. Her marriage was a tool. She was married to the most powerful king or prince to strengthen the state and ensure the survival of her lineage. Her personal feelings were irrelevant in the face of biological and political expediency. A modern woman, when choosing a partner, is on a deep level solving the exact same problem. She seeks to form an alliance that will enhance her position and give her future offspring the maximum chance of survival. What fatal mistake do men make? They try to fight this instinct. They get offended, call women materialistic, and demand to be loved just because and not for something. That's like getting upset at the law of gravity. The second mistake is trying to earn her love with gifts and favors without actually increasing their real rank. This only convinces her that you are below her, since you are trying so hard to please her. The only way to work with hypergamy is to understand and accept it, and to constantly, methodically, and without fuss, raise your own rank in the eyes of society and consequently in her eyes. Don't be the nice guy. Be the best. Instinct 2. Pre-selection. The desire for what others have approved. The second instinct is a direct consequence of the first. It's called pre-selection, or the principle of social proof. Its essence is that a woman is, on an unconscious level, far more attracted to a man who is already in demand by other women. His value in her eyes increases exponentially if she sees that he has already been approved and chosen by someone before her. Why is this mechanism so powerful? Again, let's turn to the logic of survival. Choosing a partner is a risky venture. What if he turns out to be weak, unreliable, or genetically flawed? To reduce this risk, her nature uses a shortcut, a heuristic. If other women, her competitors, have already deemed this man worthy, it means they have already done their vetting. He most likely possesses the necessary qualities. This saves her time and energy and minimizes the chance of making a mistake. In effect, she trusts the choices of other women as a seal of quality. This works flawlessly in real life. A man sitting alone in the corner of a bar can go unnoticed for hours. But as soon as he is in the center of a lively group, with beautiful women laughing and talking around him, he immediately becomes the object of intense attention from everyone else. His stock on this social exchange skyrockets. Or another example, a man who speaks with respect and warmth about his ex-partners, without dragging them through the mud, subconsciously signals, I am someone women want to be with. I am someone who leaves behind good memories. This is an incredibly powerful aphrodisiac. Let's use a simple analogy from the business world. Imagine two identical restaurants. One is completely empty, while the other has a line out the door. Which one are you more likely to go to? The second one, of course. You know nothing about the quality of the food in either of them. But the line, the choice of other people, serves as a powerful signal to you. There is something valuable here. Female psychology works on the exact same principle. A man surrounded by female attention is a restaurant with a line. What mistakes do men make here? The first and foremost is jealousy and trying to isolate their woman from society. This screams of insecurity and low self-esteem. The man shows that he is afraid of competition, which means he rates himself poorly. The second mistake is to hide past relationships or speak about them negatively. This creates the impression that he was either unwanted or leaves a trail of destruction behind him. The correct strategy is not to brag, but not to hide either. Demonstrate that you are a socially in-demand person who knows how to build healthy relationships. This is how you pass the pre-selection test. Instinct 3. The need for a leader. The desire to follow the alpha. The third instinct in this block is a deep, almost reflexive need for a leader. She instinctively seeks not just a partner, but a pack leader. A man who knows what he wants, where he is going, and is ready to make decisions and take responsibility for them. In his presence, she can relax and allow herself to be weak, because she feels the captain is at the helm, and the ship will not go off course. This instinct is also rooted in our primitive past. A group of ancient humans with a strong and decisive leader had a much better chance of surviving in a harsh and dangerous world. He decided when to hunt, where to migrate, how to defend against predators. Doubt and indecision from the leader could cost the entire tribe their lives. Therefore, a fundamental program was embedded in the female psyche: follow strength and confidence, because it is synonymous with safety and survival. Conversely, weakness and indecision in a man trigger her subconscious anxiety and contempt. Look at how this manifests in everyday life. A classic situation. A couple is trying to decide how to spend the evening. The man, wanting to be nice, asks, "Well, I don't know. What do you want to do?" He thinks he is showing consideration, but in reality, he is shifting the responsibility of making a decision onto her. He is demonstrating a lack of leadership. Her attraction at that moment plummets. Now compare that with a different approach. Tonight, we're going to that new Italian restaurant. I booked a table for 7. I'm sure you'll love it. He made a decision. He took responsibility. He acted as a leader. And that, on an instinctive level, is incredibly attractive. The best metaphor here is the tango. In this dance, there is a clear division of roles. The man leads. He sets the direction, the pace. He creates the framework of the dance. The woman follows. And it is in following that she can reveal all her grace and beauty. She doesn't think about the next step. She trusts her partner. If the man in a tango starts to hesitate, stumble, or ask his partner where to move next, the dance falls apart. The same thing happens in relationships. A woman wants to dance, not to lead. The main mistake men make is confusing leadership with tyranny and dictatorship. A leader is not someone who shouts and suppresses. He is someone who bears responsibility. The second mistake is the so-called democratic approach to relationships, trying to make everything 50-50. In the eyes of her nature, this looks like an abdication of the male role. She is not looking for a business partner to jointly manage the company called family. She is looking for a captain for her ship. And if the captain constantly asks the cabin boy for his opinion, it means he is not sure of himself or his course. And setting sail on the open sea with such a captain is deadly dangerous. Act 2. The instincts of survival and Instinct 4. Nesting. The need for a safe haven. We move on to the second act. If the first was about choosing a partner, the second is about ensuring survival. And here, the powerful nesting instinct takes the stage. This is an innate program that compels a woman to create a safe, stable, and resourceful space for herself, and most importantly, for her future offspring. Her brain is constantly scanning reality for the reliability of her nest. The biological sense of this is obvious. Pregnancy, childbirth, and caring for an infant are periods of maximum vulnerability. During this time, the woman and her child are completely dependent on the protection and resources that the man and the environment can provide. Therefore, her instinct works proactively. It forces her, long before children appear, to assess how reliable their future cave is. Is there enough food and warmth? And is it protected from external threats? What does this look like today? Her sudden and seemingly unprovoked interest in your career plans. Her questions about whether you plan to continue renting an apartment or intend to own your own home. Her heightened attention to your financial habits. This is not always materialism in its purest form. This is the activation of the nesting program. She is unconsciously assessing whether you can provide stability and security. If a man lives for the day, has no plans or financial savings, this sounds like an alarm siren for her instinct. He is an unreliable nest builder. You can compare this to the behavior of birds. Before laying eggs, a bird doesn't just build a nest from the first twigs it finds. It carefully chooses a location high up, protected from predators. It reinforces the structure with mud and spider webs, so the nest won't fall apart at the first gust of wind. This is complex and painstaking work, dictated by instinct. A woman, by asking uncomfortable questions about the future, is essentially doing the same thing. She is testing the strength of your shared nest. The main male mistake here is to dismiss these conversations, to perceive her interest in stability as pressure or an attempt to control. Phrases like, "Don't worry about it, we'll manage somehow," or "I don't want to talk about this right now," are red flags for her security instinct. They translate into her primitive language as, "I don't think about the future. I don't plan to provide security. I cannot be relied upon." The correct response is not necessarily to immediately promise to buy a house, but it is essential to show that you have a plan, that you are a man who thinks about the future and is in control of the situation. This calms her instinct and increases her trust. Instinct 5, the protector test, unconscious provocations. The fifth instinct is one of the most difficult for men to understand. It's a woman's instinctive need to test her man's strength, to conduct unconscious stress tests to make sure that in a critical situation, he won't break, won't panic, but will be able to protect her and their offspring. In psychology, these are often called frame checks, or more simply, shit tests. Why does she need this? Imagine the ancient world. A threat could come at any moment. A saber-toothed tiger, a hostile tribe, famine. A woman's survival directly depended on her man's ability to remain calm and act decisively in the face of danger. If he panics, becomes aggressive out of fear, or freezes up, everyone dies. Therefore, a program is built into her psyche that causes her to occasionally poke the bear with a stick to see his reaction in a controlled, safe environment. What does this look like in modern life? A sudden, irrational outburst of jealousy out of thin air. Sharp criticism of his hobbies or friends. An argument blown out of proportion over something insignificant. At that moment, she is not so much dissatisfied with the issue itself as she is testing his reaction. What will he do? Start making excuses? Get angry and start yelling? Get offended and withdraw into himself? All these reactions are a failure of the test. They show emotional instability, that he is not a rock, but rather a pile of sand. This can be compared to how engineers test a bridge before it is commissioned. They don't just look at the blueprints. They drive loaded dump trucks over it, create vibrations, measure deflections. They deliberately create a peak load to ensure that the structure can withstand it with a margin of safety. A woman, by creating an emotional storm, is essentially driving a dump truck onto her man's emotional structure to test its strength. The fatal mistake for a man is to take these tests literally and get emotionally involved in them. To try to argue about the substance of the issue when the point is not the issue, but the reaction. The only way to pass such a test is to remain completely calm, unflappable. You can use humor, you can change the subject, or you can simply hug her and silently show that her emotional storm does not affect you in any way. This demonstrates strength. It shows that your rock is unshakable, and that is exactly what her instinct wants to see. It is for this kind of honest, ruthless analysis that this channel was created. We don't tell fairy tales, we dissect reality. If this is the approach you've been looking for, then now is the perfect time to subscribe. Instinct 6. Fear of loneliness. The terror of being exiled from the pack, the sixth instinct. Concluding the security block is the primitive, all-consuming fear of loneliness. This is not just the fear of being without a partner. It is a deep terror of being cast out of the pack, of finding oneself in social isolation. For a man, loneliness can be a temporary state for rebooting, but for the female psyche, it is a signal of mortal danger. The biological basis for this fear is crystal clear. In prehistoric times, a woman exiled from her tribe was doomed. Alone, she could neither find enough food nor protect herself and her child from predators. Social connection, belonging to a group, was not a matter of comfort but of survival in the most direct sense of the word. This ancient terror still lives in her unconscious. This instinct explains a great deal about her behavior. For example, the immense importance of social media, constant communication with her girlfriends, discussing and gossiping. This is not just idle chatter. It is a constant synchronization with her pack, a confirmation of her status and belonging to it. This also explains her fear of public condemnation, the fear of what will people say. This is not just a complex. It's an echo of the fear of being rejected by the tribe. Her increased conformity, the desire to follow fashion and social trends, is also a way to be one of us and avoid exile. As an analogy, consider a pack of wolves. A lone wolf is a tragic figure. He is weak, vulnerable, and his chances of survival are minimal. The strength of the wolf is in the pack. It is the pack that allows them to hunt large prey and defend their territory. In the same way, a woman draws her strength and sense of security from her social group, her female circle. This circle gives her support, information, and protection. Men often make a grave mistake here by underestimating the importance of these social connections. They might be sarcastic about her long conversations with friends, try to limit her social life, or be jealous of it. By doing this, they are not strengthening the relationship, but on the contrary, activating her deep-seated fear of isolation. She perceives this as an attempt to cut her off from the pack, which would make her completely dependent on him alone, and that terrifies her to her core. A smart man, on the other hand, understands that her social connections are her resource and support, which make her more stable and happy. He does not fight her pack, but respects it. Act 3. The instincts of attraction and réalité en ses 7. The a student syndrome. The desire to be the best for the best they. Third act is dedicated to the mechanisms that govern attraction and the dynamics within a couple. And the seventh instinct can be conditionally called the a student syndrome. Its essence is this: a woman strives to be the best version of herself, only for the man she considers to be the best, that is, a high-ranking man. Her behavior is a direct mirror of her respect for her partner. This mechanism is directly linked to hypergamy. If she sees a man as a leader, a pack leader, she instinctively wants to match him. She wants to be the best female for the best male in order to keep him and secure his resources and protection. In this state, she becomes as feminine, caring, compliant, and supportive as possible. It is as if she is trying to get an A+ from the strictest and most authoritative teacher. You can observe this in dynamics. Think back to the beginning of a relationship, when attraction and respect are at their peak. She tries to look her best, cooks his favorite meals, and listens to his stories about work with enthusiasm. She is in a student mode. Now look at couples where respect for the man has faded. There, we see a completely different picture: criticism, constant dissatisfaction, lack of care. She no longer tries to please him. Why? Because she no longer considers him the best. She has stopped seeing him as someone worth making an effort for. Imagine an athlete preparing for the Olympic Games. He will give 100%. Follow a strict regimen. Listen to his coach. He is motivated because the goal is the highest. Now imagine the same athlete at a morning warm-up in a kindergarten. Will he try as hard? Of course not. The goal is not worth the effort. In the same way, a woman switches on her maximum effort mode only when she considers a man to be a worthy Olympics. If, in her eyes, he is just a kindergarten warm-up, she will not bother. The mistake men make is thinking that her behavior at the beginning of the relationship is her default setting. He relaxes, stops developing, and loses his rank. And then he is surprised why his sweet kitten has turned into a furious tigress. He doesn't understand that it's not her that has changed. It's him in her eyes. She has simply stopped seeing him as someone worth being a student for. The conclusion is simple. If you want a queen by your side, be a king. Her behavior will always be a reflection of your status in her eyes. Instinct 8. Emotional attachment. The need for grooming. The 8th instinct is responsible for the long-term bond. After the initial passion subsides, a relationship needs glue to hold the partners together. And that glue is emotional attachment, formed through a process known in biology as grooming. In human relationships, this is not about picking out parasites, but about non-sexual intimacy, conversations, hugs, shared experiences, and care. Why does nature need this? So that the man does not leave after conceiving a child, but stays and helps raise it. Physical attraction alone is not enough for this. A strong psycho-emotional bond is needed. This bond is formed thanks to the hormone oxytocin, which is actively produced during hugs, heart-to-heart talks, and shared laughter. Oxytocin is called the trust hormone, or bonding hormone. It is that very glue. It is this instinct that explains her seemingly irrational need to just talk. When she tells you about her day, her problems at work, or an argument with a friend, she is not always looking for solutions. She is looking for emotional grooming. She needs your attention, your empathy, a confirmation that you are on her side. The same goes for non-sexual physical contact. Holding hands, cuddling on the couch while watching a movie. For a man, this might seem like a small thing, but for her instinct, it is a crucial ritual of reaffirming the bond and security. An analogy can be drawn with primates. Monkeys can spend hours grooming each other's fur. This process, grooming, serves not so much a hygienic as a social function. It relieves tension, strengthens hierarchical bonds, and maintains peace in the troop. For a woman, conversations and hugs are the human equivalent of such grooming. It is a way to groom the fur on an emotional level, strengthening the bond. The male mistake here is to devalue this need, to brush off her conversations with a "let's get to the point," to avoid hugs and physical contact outside the bedroom. A man who does this is essentially refusing to add glue to the relationship. Over time, the bond weakens, and the structure of the marriage or partnership begins to crumble. Even the strongest house will fall apart if you slowly remove the cement mortar from it. Emotional grooming is that very mortar for a relationship. Instinct 9. Maternal instinct as a weapon. Care as control. The 9th instinct is the sharpest, most ambiguous, and darkest of them all. We are used to perceiving the maternal instinct as something exclusively bright and positive. But like any force of nature, it has its shadow side. Sometimes her care and nurturing can transform from a manifestation of love into a powerful tool of control and a way to create dependency. What is the biological mechanism? A woman's primary task is to keep a valuable partner who provides resources and protection. One of the most effective ways to do this is to weaken him and make him dependent on her. If a man cannot take care of himself, if he is as helpless as a child in everyday matters, then the likelihood of him leaving is significantly reduced. Where would he go, so ill-adapted? How does this manifest? It's called hyper-nurturing. It starts with small things. Don't touch that. I'll wash the dishes myself. You'll just make a mess. Let me pack your lunch for work. You'll forget anyway. You shouldn't hang out with that friend. He's a bad influence on you. Gradually, step by step, she takes on more and more functions that the man could perfectly well perform himself. It is as if she is amputating his independence, turning a grown man into another one of her children. This is very similar to what is called learned helplessness in psychology. If a dog is repeatedly shocked without any way to escape the shock, it will eventually lie down on the floor and whine, even when an escape route becomes available. It has learned to be helpless. A woman who uses hyper-nurturing instinctively creates a similar environment for a man. She convinces him that he cannot cope without her. And the scariest part is that, over time, the man begins to believe it. The main mistake a man makes is to gladly accept this game. It's convenient for him. He is served, cared for. His problems are solved. He thinks he has found the perfect woman, but in reality, he is slowly falling into a skillfully laid trap. He loses his skills, his will, his independence. He trades his freedom and self-respect for a plate of hot soup. There is only one antidote here. Never give up your independence. Be grateful for the care, but always retain key functions for yourself. The ability to cook, to look after your own things, to make your own decisions, and to be responsible for them. Instinct 10. Sexual economy. Energy as an investment. And finally, the 10th instinct, which regulates the most intimate sphere of a relationship. This is the principle of sexual economy. Its essence is simple. Female sexual energy is an extremely valuable and limited resource, and her nature will not allow her to spend this resource on an unpromising, low-ranking, or unreliable partner. For her, intimacy is not just pleasure. It is an act of the highest trust and an investment. Why is this? Let's turn to biology again. The cost of a single sexual act is incomparable for a man and a woman. For a man, the risks are practically zero. For a woman, the potential consequences are pregnancy, 9 months of gestation, a dangerous childbirth, and many years of raising a child. Evolution could not ignore this colossal gap in the stakes. Therefore, a powerful safety mechanism is built into the female psyche, which says, be selective. Invest your energy and your body only in the most worthy. This explains why foreplay is so important to her, not only in the bedroom, but also outside of it. Courtship, compliments, gifts, displays of care, all of these are, for her instinct, proof of his intentions and his resourcefulness. He is showing that he is willing to invest, not just get what he wants and disappear. Her no or not today is not always a whim. Often, it is an instinctive check. How interested are you really in me? Are you ready to invest further, or will you retreat at the first difficulty? Imagine an elite investor managing a multi-billion-dollar fund. He will not invest money in the first startup that is pitched to him on the street. He will conduct a thorough audit, study the business plan, evaluate the team, and calculate the risks. And only after being convinced of a high probability of success will he write the check. A woman's nature is just as strict an investor. Her body and her sexual energy are her main capital, and she will not invest it in an unreliable project. The main mistake men make is to apply pressure and get offended. When a man tries to beg for intimacy, gets angry, or reproaches her for being cold, he is doing the worst thing possible. He is demonstrating that he is only interested in getting the resource, not in her. He is behaving not like a reliable partner, but like an impatient beggar. This instantly lowers his status in her eyes and causes her instinct to shut the gates even tighter. The right path is not to demand, but to create value. To be the kind of man with whom intimacy is not a favor, but a privilege. To be that project in which she herself will want to invest. Conclusion: how to stop fighting nature and start winnings. Oh, we have broken down the 10 key instincts, the 10 basic programs installed in every woman's operating system. Hypergamy, pre-selection, the need for a leader. Nesting protector tests. Fear of loneliness, the A student syndrome. The need for grooming, the dark side of the maternal instinct. And sexual economy. What is the main conclusion we can draw from this? It is simple and fundamental. You cannot change her nature. Trying to remake her, getting offended by her instincts, appealing to logic where millions of years of evolution rule, is like shouting at a hurricane to change its direction. It is foolish, pointless, and a waste of energy. But the fact that you cannot change it does not mean you are powerless. On the contrary, by gaining this knowledge, you get what can be called a user manual. You stop being a blind kitten bumping into a closed door. You begin to see the hidden mechanisms, to understand the true reasons for her seemingly illogical actions. Her sudden coldness is not a whim, but possibly a reaction to a drop in your status. Her nagging is not a desire to offend you, but most likely a test of your emotional stability. By understanding these 10 laws, you exit the game in which you were a pawn and become a player who knows the rules. You will no longer be offended by so-called female logic, because you will know that it is not logic at all, but instinct. And this instinct, unlike a mood, is very predictable. You will be able to anticipate her reactions, avoid pitfalls, and most importantly, behave in a way that her nature sees you as that very best that she instinctively wants to follow. You stop fighting the river and start flowing with the current, using its power for your own purposes. Today, we broke down her 10 main instincts. This is the what, but knowledge without action is useless. In the next video, we will break down the how. I will give you 5 specific rules of behavior based on these instincts that will allow you to stop being led and start leading. To make sure you don't miss this practical guide, ensure you are subscribed and be sure to click the bell icon.